guys, Max here, and I am not in the Catch America warehouse today. Typically, I'm the guy in the warehouse fulfilling your orders and shipping out lures all over the United States, but instead, you're in my house today, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite salmon recipes. This is a salmon I actually caught myself. I caught it out of the Northwest Fresno Costco, so it is a beautiful hunk of meat. Unfortunately, I've not gone out for salmon this year. Typically, I like to have some in the freezer, but I'm out. So it's time to go pay some of the guys up in Oregon a visit and restock. But this recipe's killer. I didn't want you to miss out, so I went ahead and just went to the store and picked it up. But before we get into it, I went ahead and just cleaned this salmon. I always, give it a rinse, pat dry, before any sort of marinade or anything goes on there. So that happened. And I've also got some rice cooking while the Traeger's heating up. But before we get into anything, it's going to be the marinade. Now, something kind of important with the marinade, for myself at least on fish, I try not to marinate it for a long time. A lot of guys will marinate beef for 24 hours or some crazy amount of time. Typically with salmon, it's about a half an hour. So what I'll do is show you guys the marinade. We'll throw it back in the fridge while it's marinating, and then we'll do some sauce and some other stuff like that. And then by that time, it's ready to go on the Traeger. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's get in the marinade now. So go ahead and put this salmon aside. Now we're going to start off with our bowl here. So first ingredient is right here. This is a ginger paste, super good. You're not going to want to put a lot of on it. And here's the thing, guys, with this recipe, you kind of have to eyeball it, especially on the marinade, because it depends on what kind of salmon how big of a salmon you're doing. For example, today I got the whole filet. Sometimes me and my wife just cut up that filet and we'll do that. So I'll kind of show you a little bit and kind of explain to it. But basically, I'll put some into this tube, kind of like a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons worth, a little bit more than that. And then the next ingredient right here, this is sesame seed oil. You don't need a lot of this. If you go overboard on it, the flavor is so much stronger than you'd ever imagine. I'll go ahead and just put a little bit in there. Once again, you're looking at 2 to 3 tablespoons. Both of these things have a super strong flavor, so I try not to put too much in there so it doesn't overwhelm the taste of the actual fish itself. And then we're gonna grab the cutting board. I do about 4 fresh garlic. So we'll go ahead and mince this guy right here. Go. Good boy. Look at that fresh garlic in here. And put this off to the side. And then now it's time for kind of the main ingredients, which are going to be teriyaki sauce and soy sauce. Soy sauce, you don't want to do too much of because it's going to kind of overwhelm that flavor. It's going to make it super salty. Don't get me wrong, teriyaki sauce is pretty salty too. But if you do that, then, it's going to be a little less salty because that's a little more sweet. So go ahead and put this in here. I drizzle it all around. Okay. And then a fork, and we're just going to stir it around just like that. And you want to stir that ginger paste before you put in the teriyaki, since it's going to be a lot of teriyaki. It'll kind of get lost and chunky, and so we'll do that. And then now we bring a thing of teriyaki here. We'll do this right here. It's going to be quite a bit on this guy just because it's such a large filet. But let's go ahead and give it a shot. So we got the zip locked. Let's throw it in. Okay. And then put that on in there too. Zip it up, get all the oxygen out of there, and then you are ready to go. So like I said, I'm going to put this back in the fridge, but we're going to put it in the fridge for probably 20 to 30 minutes and we'll start getting going on the sauce. All right, guys, so just to recap, we got the Traeger heated up now, or at least it is heating up. We've got some white rice on, and we've got our salmon marinating. The next thing to do, and this is perfect time while that salmon's marinating, since we've got about 20-30 minutes, is to make the sauce. Now, this is a sauce that me and my wife make. It's very similar to a lot of teppanyaki restaurants, so you'll kind of see that similarity once it's done. So first thing, I always put it in some sort of like little Tupperware dish, because I always try and come up with other stuff to make with it while I have it, because you kind of have to make a decent amount when you do it. So the first ingredient is mayo. And I will be quite honest with you guys, I'm not a huge mayo fan, but this recipe made me a mayo fan, at least in sauce, or aioli as they call it now, I guess. So you got about that much the sauce, and of course you can make less if you'd want. This is just my opportunity while I'm making a whole bunch of sauce to make more. The next ingredient is sriracha, or any sort of sriracha looking sauce that you can get, since it seems like it's not really available any longer. And you basically want to match it so it's half mayo, half sriracha. From here, because those are the two thickest ingredients, and that's what I kind of want to mix together. The goal is to make it like a smoothie type paste. So that's when I'm going to put in all the other, spices, if you will. So chili powder is the next. This is to your taste. I like mine a little hotter than typical, so I just do a light coating. That's a little bit of a heavy coat, but I like to do a light coating just over the entire top. And then for added, it can't really taste it, but it looks really good when you're making the sauce and you serve it to people. It's chili flake. So add a little bit of chili flake on here as well. All right. And then this is not done, but this is my time where I mix in. Because if you start adding the teriyaki and the soy sauce, what'll happen is this becomes clumpy and it looks really bad. And so what I do is, after all this is mixed, I'm gonna make sure and scrape the walls, scrape the sides. It's gonna kind of look like that. Kind of a pinkish mayo color with a full bunch of little speckles in it, which is the chili flake and red pepper flake. And like I said, scrape it, really mix it together. Obviously, we just kind of scoop out of this, but if you're serving for people, I'd highly suggest to put it in some sort of little food processor, a little Ninja if you've got them. Now, the next two ingredients, we got teriyaki and soy sauce. So this part of it kind of depends on what you like. If you like a sweeter sauce on your food, I would mainly base it with this. If you like it a little more salty, a little more savory, go with the soy sauce. I tend to do just a mixture of half and half, and that's all I've been good. But once again, it's the consistency of the sauce that's really important. So what you'll do, just like if you go to like a sushi place, is pour just a little bit in at a time. So just kind of a tiny little bit, and then mix it all the way back in again. And so it doesn't become clumpy, it doesn't become runny. That's what we want to do. So a little bit at a time. And then a little more. And there's kind of a color we're going for. This will turn to kind of a lightish brown color, but you really want it thick. And so once I'm done with this sauce, I'll immediately put it into the refrigerator so it thickens up before we actually put it on the finished product. So that's the kind of nice thing about this meal, is you do things in steps, not everything going at once. You're kind of taking advantage of your time while things are either marinating or boiling or so on and so forth. So here. Right, that should be good. Here we go. Constantly mixing, constantly mixing. And don't be afraid to give it a taste. I've made this enough times to know this is the way I'm going to want it. But here is kind of the color on that. So there you go right there. That kind of goldeny brown will get the job done. And so once again, I'll go ahead and put this on the lid, put it in the fridge, and then the next step is avocado. All right, guys, so I went ahead and flipped around the camera because this is kind of a really cool trick with avocados I learned. Basically, though, you want to cut it in half. Unfortunately, all the avocados at the store were a little on the brown side, so it is what it is. But basically, here's the trick. So you get your avocado, you cut it in half. You get the pit side and put it down on the ground and just cut a little slit off of it like that. So you kind of got a flat top on it, if you will. From here, what you're going to do is actually peel off the skin. Just like this. Like I said, it's a little weird. It's a little different. Oh, got a little chunk there. And once again, these are not the best avocados, but sometimes that's all they have at the store. They're either like this or they're rock hard, and that was the situation I was in. So just like that. And then what you do, let's see here, is you get your knife and you start cutting lines just like that. And this way you can cut them razor thin. You can do it all yourself. And sometimes people kind of do this in opposite and they cut it while it's in the skin, and then they'll get a spoon. But if you do it this way, it's just kind of a different look to it. Where you cut it like that. And then basically what you could do is now you can lay it down like that. So it's just kind of a cool look, especially if you're going to be serving people at a party. Once again, you're probably not going to serve an avocado that looks like this, but we'll go ahead and do that to this side, and then I'll meet you guys back because it is actually time to put this salmon on the Traeger. All right, guys, now it's time to put the salmon on the Traeger. I have mine cranked up to 450 degrees. I typically cook mine super fast. I'm not trying to smoke it really heavy. So I'm gonna put it on for 450. I'm gonna let it cook for probably 10 to 15 minutes. It's not that crazy. One of those things that once you put it on, it'll get done pretty quick. There you go. And then of course, you gotta pour the leftover sauce all over it. All right, now we'll let it go and we'll be back in 10-15 minutes. All right, guys, so we got the salmon off the Traeger now. It took about 12 minutes, so it happened pretty quick, but it's also extremely hot outside. I think it's like 104 today, but we got a little bit of white rice in the bowl. I don't do too much. You're gonna go ahead and grab your piece of salmon. Okay. Grab your avocado. The thinly sliced avocado, that is. And then you're going to go ahead and put a little bit of that sauce we made and drizzle that on there. Now, it's up to you. Some people put soy sauce on the rice, some don't. But the sauce has soy, so it kind of gets the job done. Right there is what we are going for. So check that out. That is super, super, super good. I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. I kind of go like this, get a little bit of rice, a little bit of avocado. Delicious. Absolutely perfect. Like I said, guys, this could be perfect for if there's two of you, if there's one of you, just a little slice of the salmon. But this combo right here is absolutely killer. If you got a big family, go ahead and get the whole salmon. If you got a bunch of friends and family coming over, get the whole one. Either way, it's going to work. Absolutely delicious. Thank you guys so much for joining in on our Catch and Cook Tuesday, and hope to see you guys soon.